What is up, Internet? This is Beagle Eye Visions. This is the first video of our Legends of South Bend series. And I'm here with my very good friend, Patrick Danger Quigley. Is Danger your is that a nickname? Or?
It's my middle name.
Danger is your middle name?
Is it?
Whoa.
You'll never know.
Well, alright, so this is Patrick Quigley. He is an absolute legend. I've known him for years. He's ran sound here at the Well in the basement. We're in front of this beautiful drum set. This is where all the shows at the Well go down. And he's gonna. What is the Well? Can you tell us a little bit about the Well?
Sure. So the Well's a nonprofit coffee shop in South Bend. We've been here about 10 years. We're completely volunteer run. So from the people that are cleaning the bathrooms, the people running sound, the people working the coffee bar, everybody's volunteer. They're just giving their time to the community. And so through that, we're able to then, all of the money that we take in, we cut it in half. Half of it covers our costs. Half of it goes back to the community and different organizations that are doing good things. Wow. So we partner with the LGBTQ Center and Disma's House and Center for Homeless and Food Not Bombs, stuff like that. And really our focus is not just a coffee shop, but a community center, especially focused on all ages access to music and other arts.
Yes.
So me and some of the other people involved on the board were really strongly influenced when we were younger kids by local venues, local art establishments that allowed people under the age of 21, people under the age of 18 come be a part of it. So that's what we're trying
There wasn't a whole lot back in the day.
I mean, so like when I was
not a whole lot now, I guess.
Yeah, when I was in high school, so right around the 2000s, right around the turn of 2000, was when that started to become a popular thing in the Midwest, was the all ages venue. So right around the time that I became a junior is when we started seeing local venues pop up, and people were like, I can be in a band, I can play music, we could have a show in our garage.
That's how it starts, DIY all the way.
Right on.
And so yeah, now you used to not manage the Well, right? And now you are.
Yeah, so I started. So I was.
You started as a volunteer.
I was
right?
Yeah, it was. I started as just a volunteer. They pretty much. Me and Mandy came down one day. We'd seen that the coffee shop opened in the neighborhood. We stopped by. One of the people here working introduced themselves, and they're like, I've heard your name. I heard you're connected with some local bands. We really want to start throwing shows. Are you the right person to talk to? And so kind of from the minute I walked in the door, they were like, hey, we want you to help us get music in this building. And so I went from just booking occasional events to volunteering at the coffee bar, and then I eventually became events coordinator, where I was doing all of the shows, doing all the planning, all the promotion, all the operating of the shows, while Mandy, my partner, was doing all the coffee shop and the volunteer management. And then we had some shifts through COVID, so we had a kid during COVID and knew that we couldn't be here quite as much as we used to. We couldn't quite do as much here as we used to. So we asked some folks around South Bend that we knew were dedicated to this space, had invested a lot of their time and energy already, and we invited them to come and form like an operational board for the Well. And so now I can focus on building stuff. So we're in a 100-year-old building, which tends to just kind of fall down over time. So I'm focused on fundraising and fixing up the building and making sure that the facility stays here, while some other folks are now focused on booking and running shows and doing our integration side of things. So I backed off of that stuff a little bit, and I'm just focusing on other things here to make sure we can keep doing this another 10 years, because we just hit our 10-year anniversary.
So you became like the Hilly Crystal of the Well now.
Sure, I don't know who that is.
The owner of CBG.
Gotcha, yeah. I should know that, right?
Yeah.
Cut that out.
Oh, shoot.
No, don't cut that
We don't have software for that yet. I didn't take Mark Passio's class, but so that's awesome. A whole lot of work, huh?
Yeah.
Holy cow. And so that'll lead us into the next question: is how many bands have you been in?
How many bands have I been in?
That's a tough one.
You sent me those questions, and I started counting, and then I got distracted, and I was like, man, I don't know where I left off. So I was talking to Brett the other day. Brett from Spaceships. Brett plays in Dad Jokes with me.
He's
Brett
the bigger guy, right?
Plays in Lune with me. Yeah.
Okay.
And
he's awesome too. We gotta interview him.
We were talking about a time, 8 years ago or so, maybe longer than that, and it was Analecta band practice on Mondays, and Chin Up band practice on Tuesdays, and the Stranger band practice on Wednesdays, and then Thursdays we didn't have band practice, and we did shows on Fridays. We did shows, but Yeah, I don't know. I've been in bands since high school, and if it's not one, it's another. In the last couple of years, well, yeah, like pre-COVID, pre my child, I was probably in 3 or maybe 4 at a time, but man, it's hard to keep up. And some of those bands are just like we play just a couple times a year. It's pretty chill.
Right. Yeah, like Analecta isn't that like Analecta's one of the
pretty
ones
chill. Yeah. Twice a year.
Twice a year. Right. That's all. The first time I saw Analecta was at a venue here in South Bend called Elva's.
Oh gosh, that must have been forever ago.
And there was such a good show. I can't remember who headlined. Or no, you guys headlined because you guys played last. Dude. And you played like right in the middle. So Elva's was this huge venue. It was similar to this, but the stage was like, it was one of them stages is up, like you had to get a ladder just to get up there. Yeah. So Analecta plays off kilter, off the key. That's why I respect Analecta. But they played like, they did a chariot thing, shout out to the chariot, where they played just in the middle of the entire room, like off the stage. They were like, screw that stage.
Dude, we played a house show in Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio, one time.
Oh, okay.
And it was like an abandoned house. People were living there, so it wasn't really abandoned, but it was kind of abandoned.
It's like a punk house.
Yeah, and we played in the living room, and there was like nothing in this house. Like it was empty. And we set up in like opposite corners of the room and made the crowd stand between us.
That's awesome.
It's the only time we've done that. Like we play on 2 sides of the crowd. It was super fun.
That sounds
really
intense.
I don't know if it sounded good, but it was fun. You know, it's just a different experience.
That'd be different for the sound.
Different way to do it.
So that's one of the bands. So there's Analecta. You mentioned Chin Up.
Yeah.
Lune.
Recording new record soon.
Yeah, new Lune record. I'm excited for that
Awesome.
one. Trying to think of some other ones.
Dad jokes.
Dad jokes, of course. I love dad jokes.
Once a year.
Check out all these bands on Bandcamp too, by the way. Does Dad jokes still play?
Theoretically, I mean, we haven't played a show in.
I need to I want to get.
It's probably been a year.
There's a Dad Jokes video up here up in the coffee shop, and you can look up Dad Jokes South Bend, the Well, and it'll be Dad Jokes up. I forget what song I think it's Down with the Government. You guys play, and the video is awesome. It looks really good. I forgot who shot it, but I want to get a video of Dad Jokes. I want to see him play. I want to shoot Dad Jokes with the camera though. No, but anyways, so the next question was, what was your favorite venue to play, or maybe your just favorite venue to go to that got shut down back in the day? Because there were so many here in South Bend.
Yeah.
It's like, this town's coming like a ghost town.
Dude, I have so many fond memories of venues.
But,
there's a couple. So one of the bands I was in for a long time was Dr. Doctor.
Doctor, how could I forget? Yes,
Doctor.
Look up Dr.
Broke up.
Epic.
We played 3 farewell shows because there weren't a ton of venues in South Bend at the time, so we played a couple different farewell shows at like what felt like our home venues, kind of away from home. So one of them was the Loft out in Bristol.
Loft, yeah.
Loft was sick. That was our very, very, very last
so
show.
Many legends, like Texas in July played. I mean, that's just the only one I remember. But
and we played Lamangelo's up in Holland, which is a little coffee shop.
I never heard that one.
That was a crazy place for a Dr. Doctor show. That was good.
Huh.
And then we played Eagles in Lake Station. Have you ever been to Eagles? The Eagles
I heard
Club?
about that, yeah.
That was a place. Those Northwest Indiana folks are great to us. Yeah,
Lake Station, Indiana?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Chicago. Yeah.
I definitely have heard of that place.
But then around here, so Skunk's Nest was a big deal when I was really just coming up into it. So right about the time that I left for college for a couple years, Skunk's Nest opened. So there was this weird transition of when I graduated high school and I left, most of the music was happening in garages and churches, and then I left, and a couple of the first proper all ages venues opened, and Skunk's Nest in Niles, Michigan was one of them.
Oh.
So I came home from college for Christmas break or whatever, and this venue had popped up, and they were doing shows 3 times a week. And there were 200 kids there for every show. And it was Set Your Goals was playing, and Job for a Cowboy was playing. Yeah, it was wild. It was a wild time. So it was 2005, 2006.
South Bend has had an awesome history, and that's kind of why I'm starting this Legends of South Bend, because there's so many awesome stories. I mean, the Queers played in Rum Village, Sloppy Seconds played, The Wander Inn. Who were some of the bands that played Elva's? There were some big ones that...
We played there with August Burns Red.
Woo!
Dr.
And Elvis?
With
Oh,
August
and
Burns Red, yeah.
I kind of remember hearing about that show
Yeah.
actually.
And
DRI
then there was-
played Smith.
There's Cabana House. Shout out Cabana House. Shout out The Post in Goshen was the spot for a while.
I heard about that too.
RPMP just on the block was the spot. For
my
a
shout
while.
out is the Refuge.
The Refuge.
Where was that at?
Yeah, that's also in Goshen. Yep.
Goshen. Oh, that's Goshen. I never drove
Yep.
back in the day.
Yep.
Shout out to
Yep.
Chris for driving us to all
There's
the
a bunch
shows.
of good stuff in Goshen. The Crossing was before all that happened too. Yeah.
The Crossing.
And then there was
is that still a thing? The Crossing?
Nah, it's a Mexican grocery store now.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Grand Rapids venue. Isn't there a Grand Rapids venue?
There is a Grand Rapids
Or the
venue.
intersection.
The intersection's a different venue, but yes, that's
Yeah.
also a venue.
There's so many, man, so many good venues have been around
It's
here.
Midwest, man.
What was the other one that was in Mishawaka Avenue across the street from that old Speedway?
You're talking the coffee shop one?
The Underground? No, it was the
No, Underground was out in near downtown. You're talking about.
It was an old Pizza Hut, and then Pizza Hut got shut down and it became this venue. Yeah, and it was a coffee shop.
What was it? It had one of those like punny coffee shop. Was it Common Ground? Was it Common Ground? Higher Grounds. Higher Grounds. That's what it was. That's not what you're talking about?
Man.
Higher Grounds. Coffee shops, Ugly Mugs. Shout out Ugly Mugs. Shout out
Ugly
Generic.
Mugs.
Remember the Generic days?
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh. Kid Valiant at Generic. Chin Up at Generic was insane.
Yeah,
like my nose got busted open in one of those shows. I was
MXPX
bleeding all
covers,
over the place. Yeah. What was that venue? I can't remember it now. It was on right over here, Mishawaka Avenue.
Okay.
It used to be a Pizza Hut, and then the Speedway's right across the street. And now the Pizza Hut is next to the. It's not Speedway anymore. It's the Rebel gas station. It's by the 100 Center, a little bit past the 100 Center.
I know what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you just
that's
can't
not
think of
Higher
it.
Grounds, but Sufficient Grounds. I know of all of these coffee shop
the name,
venues
I'd
somewhere.
be like, that's it. I thought it was
Don't know,
Higher
man.
Ground. I don't know. I first learned how to drop in on a quarter pipe at that venue. But anyway,
Dude, venues with quarter pipes, underrated. That's
venues
like
with
something
quarter
we
pipe.
lost to time. Is like
And
when it was
and Flatfoot 56 played around here a lot.
Yeah,
The first time
yeah,
I saw
Flatfoot.
Flatfoot was in Goshen at a skate park, I think. It was a church.
I think
with
I
a
remember that
skate park
show. Yep.
like in the garage,
Yep.
and they played in the half pipe.
Yep.
That was so awesome.
Yep.
Man. So many good shows. We could sit here and talk all day about shows. So do you guys? Are you like a pastor or minister? I'm like not educated in those terms.
Good question. Yeah. So the well was started as so the building was bought by a church, right?
Okay,
So
right.
there used to be a church called Harris Prairie Church of Christ up in
Okay.
Granger, and they bought this building and kind of planted a small community church here. And then pretty soon after that happened, that what we would call a parent church dissolved. They had some stuff go on. They stopped being a church.
Oh my.
And so the group of people here were like independent pretty quick, and so I got involved by playing music, and then they said, "Hey, we do this church thing on Sunday mornings. We heard you're a drummer. We really need a drummer. You want to come play drums for us?"
Nice.
And I've got, I grew up in the church. I'm a religious person. I'm a believer. Have a rocky past with the organized church, though, like a lot of people do.
Okay.
And so it was really the first place that I had kind of gotten plugged back into a church after, I don't know, several years of being kind of away from it, kind of falling out with a local church. And I just met some really rad people, and they kind of practiced what they preached when it came to providing community space without trying to like backdoor sell people on the church thing. It was like, we do this, you can come be a part of it. But even if not, that's fine. This is just a place for people that need a place to be, or people that need a place to do something. And through that, I've done a lot of religious studying, and I kind of started speaking on Sunday mornings. So I became a pastor to this church. I got ordained to the church.
Okay.
Since then, a lot of things have changed. So even the church has gone through a lot of transformation, and I wouldn't say I'm a pastor today. Our church gatherings really look like Sunday morning academic, Jesus-oriented discussion group sort of thing, where there's 8 to 10 of us.
I love that.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, we talk about books that we're reading. We talk about people that are putting video content out. We watch a lot of Bible Project videos, which is a group out of the Northwest that are doing really cool academic, but also I don't know how to say it, socially aware and historically contextual versions of kind of biblical analysis. So taking a look at like the stories, the old stories in the Bible that are really easy to like pluck out and be like, these people believe this crazy stuff. How about that? And talking about it in the like historical context of what it meant to be like part of a tribal nation in the ancient Near East and what were the religions around that.
That's kind of deep.
How can you can you like look at those the biblical stories and understand them in the context of how they were the same or different than the other nations around them, and it adds a whole different layer of like, man, there's some crazy stuff that happens in the Bible. You guys are crazy for believing that. It just adds a different, like I said, academic approach to taking a look at who were those writers and what were they writing about exactly, and how does that inform us in a way that we are trying to figure out how to understand better what is beyond what we can perceive, right? Is we can't touch, feel, taste, things that are outside of our physical realm, but a lot of us feel pulled that there is something there. Guess what? People have been trying to figure out how to understand and perceive that for thousands of years. Yeah, this biblical history is a story of a whole group of people trying to figure out how to put words and meaning and understanding to that pull that we feel that there's something else going on here, right? So that's my way of describing it.
It's like almost philosophical.
So you asked me if I'm a pastor. No, I'm not a pastor. I'm a Christian. I've spoken in a lot of Christian churches. I used to be a pastor. I've never been a paid pastor. I've always been a for free pastor because that's what I believe in.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I respect this man. You're a legend for that. So do you guys still do Sunday service here?
Yep.
In the other room? Really? Wow.
No, we do it in the coffee shop these days because we're pretty small. So like I said, there's like 8 or 10 of us.
It's probably warmer in the coffee shop.
Yeah, right. That's drier in the coffee shop right now.
The warehouse?
Yeah, we call it the warehouse.
Yeah, that place is so cool. So there was, what was that festival that Bruce played? And
Bloodline?
That was Bloodline? There was a lot of them.
We've done a lot of festivals.
Can't keep up with these guys anymore.
Bloodline will be back too. We're talking about
Don't leave the community for a year because they do so much, they do so much work and festivals. Like, so Bloodline Festival, there's Bruce played, Wanderer, Bare Knuckle Hooligans played.
I don't know if they played Bloodline. They definitely played some of the other stuff.
Oh yeah.
We had Aggie, Flatfoot played one of the Bloodline festivals.
Didn't 6'10", the Flatfoot like side project play that year?
6'10" probably played the first Bloodline, and then Flatfoot played the second year, I think. Yeah.
Oh, because you saw Flatfoot, didn't you?
Pretty sure I did.
Yeah. So Flatfoot played that year.
Yeah. How long ago?
So many legends. So many legends come through this building. Years. It's awesome. Well, that's a weird. Oh, so I was gonna say, can you elaborate on the new? So the Well is developing a new lecture series that I'm gonna try to slide in there. I want to do like a Matrix allegorical presentation for one of those things.
You gotta figure out who to talk to get booked.
Right. Well, I was gonna ask you about this. So what? Can you elaborate on the lecture series?
Yeah. So coming out of COVID, we're really trying to just really step back and think about what we have been and recognize that what we have been is not necessarily what we need to be moving forward. And really, a lot of people changed their personal habits through COVID. Like, a lot of people had kids, a lot of people changed jobs, a lot of people that volunteered doing certain things took that chance to step away and volunteer into new things. And a lot of our regulars never came back after COVID. And it's not because of anything we did or they did, but everybody's lives, everybody's habits have changed, right? So just really taking a step back and knowing that we were a certain thing for a bunch of people before COVID, and now everybody's lives have been put in the hat and shuffled and then poured back out. Yeah. It's like, cool, so we have a building, we have some sound systems, we have a coffee bar, we have a physical coffee bar, right? Yeah. We have a bunch of chairs, we have some TVs. What are the things we can do? What does the community need out of this space now? And that's always been the focus is, what does the community need us to be? And how can we fill that need with the resources we have? And one of the things that got kicked up along with a knitting night, which is wildly popular now.
I saw that.
And some other stuff going on, is a lecture series. Is one of the new volunteers that's been helping us out was like, I think it'd be really fun to do a lecture series, because there are lectures that take place on some of the campuses across town, but those aren't really very accessible to people that are not students on those campuses. And then there's a couple like TED Talk style events, but they are of a certain kind of group and culture within South Bend that not everybody feels super welcome or super into.
Right.
So the thought was like, let's do something casual and accessible and fun and informative. And so we said one Friday every month we're gonna host some local expert on some topic. And the way we were pitching it is the art and science of so it's like the art and science of cheese, the art and science of coffee, the art and science of trash, the art and science of books, of
That's awesome.
parenting, of home gardening, of right?
Of skateboarding.
Of skateboarding.
Let's bring Brandon.
It's not that
bring
one.
Brandon.
Yeah.
So we just did our first one. It was kind of a like, can we do this? Can we find somebody to talk?
That's so cool.
Can we advertise it? Can we get people to show up? And
Yeah,
so
that's tough.
we didn't necessarily hit our like art and science of topic, but since we're supporting the Civil Rights Heritage Center in January, we asked one of the assistant directors there, George Garner, if he would come and just talk about his like passion, his focus is talking about civil rights in South Bend, but through the lens of architecture. So like, what sort of architecture do you see in town that kind of tells the story of what it was like through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s in town? And you can see like the red lines when you cross Chapin Street and the neighborhood changes completely, and you can see how the neighborhoods were built up around the old industrial centers. Their building is where the first public swimming pool in South Bend was. And for a long time, that swimming pool was whites only. It said, I don't remember the name, it was somebody public natatorium, and public didn't mean everybody, it meant just the white people in town. And so they have this rich history of integration in South Bend, and when that public pool became integrated.
That's
and it,
so cool.
Even that wasn't like a today it isn't, today it is. It was like when they made that change, it was on Mondays black people could come and swim, but not other days of the week. And then there was this slow period of time where they actually became integrated public space. And by the time it was an integrated public space, it was no longer the like cool, new, fresh, beautiful building. It was a building that was 60 years old and starting to kind of fall apart. And then there were other public spaces that were culturally whites only, even though the pool wasn't whites only anymore. So really rich history there. So I asked George to come in
good stuff,
and talk about what work he's been doing in digging up those stories of civil rights and integration in South Bend, and how you can see that in the architecture around town. So that was our first one.
That's
the next
deep
one,
too, man. Shoot. Whoa,
stay tuned. You have to watch the website for the next one.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe it's skateboarding. Maybe it's.
We need to do skateboarding, Brandon Martin.
The Matrix, metaphysics.
Yeah, the Matrix.
You want to blow all our minds, right?
Well, not only of the allegory of the Matrix, but the allegory of the Terminator movies, the allegory of Jaws, even. Like, there's some allegory in that. Like, Hollywood does a lot of. I mean, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Hey,
we're interviewing you.
open mics once a month. You just come up and you get your 15 minutes, man.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Dude, I've been plotting this open mic bit where I just go up. Imagine, microphone's plugged in on the stand, I walk up, I take the microphone, I unplug it, and then I just open the microphone and then explain to everybody how microphones work. It's an open mic.
There you go.
Get it?
Dad jokes.
Are you done with your questions?
Oh, no, shoot.
I can do this forever. Right?
I forgot.
I know.
But so as you can see, a lot of the work he's doing for the community, it makes him the other day I said he became a father, so that's a whole nother aspect. He's still doing all this work. So I told him the other week at the show, I was like, you went from a lowercase legend to an all capital legend, all capital letters legend. And if you know, you know. Like if you study the linguistics of that stuff. So the last and final question is, what is the biggest goal you would like to see accomplished for the well/community?
So for me, like I said, my focus has been like, we're in a 100-year-old building that is in the process of trying to fall down. So
yeah.
You know the concept of entropy, that everything wants to settle to its lowest energy state, right?
Yeah.
So we can stack things on top of each other, but eventually they just want to like fall with gravity. So I'm an engineer by trade, so this is what I talk to my colleagues about, is like, our job is trying to force the world to do a thing that it doesn't want to do. And right now, by having this building built up around us, it naturally wants to fall apart. So we are actively putting this building back together as it tries to crumble around us. That all sounds very doom and gloom. My goal is we need to raise like $20,000 to put a new roof over
I was
the
gonna say,
warehouse.
is the roof
Because the roof is leaky. So we repaired the roof on this side about 6 years ago. We raised $15,000 in the community to put a new roof over our heads here, which is why there's no water in the basement anymore. But the warehouse needs a new hat. So that's my goal. April will be kicking off fundraisers for that. So it'll be our April showers fundraiser. And hopefully in May it'll be just all flowers and new roof on the building. And we don't have to worry about that the rest of the summer and the rest of the...
Yes, and the well is just an amazing place. The well kept me out of trouble. I mean, I don't know how many people out there this well kept out of trouble, but it definitely kept me out of trouble. Like, there's always a safe spot.
Yeah.
You know, when there's a show here, nobody's turned away. You know, shows are donation based, so even if you don't have money, you can still come hang out. You know, give Patrick a bear hug. I'm still gonna make a shirt that's gonna say that even though he's a father, you gotta be gentle now. But you can still give him a bear hug. This is one of the capital L legends of South Bend. Well, there's going to be more in the future. We're going to interview more people. He does the higher form of love. You know, you could call it agape. The agape love, the higher form of love. He stands up for his community. He brings awesome bands, legendary bands here. So for local entertainment, he's an absolute legend. One of my best fucking friends I've met in my life. You're amazing, dude. Thank you for all of your work, dude.
Thank you.
You're
so
awesome.
much.
All right.